Welcome to Pontification Nation. I'm your host, Ricky Skittle, and I'm coming to you live, as I always do, from my mother's basement. And today we're going to continue our programming by discussing Nancy Pelosi and her flip-flop on impeachment, which maybe flip-flop is a little bit of an exaggeration. Maybe it's more like her Flim Flam on impeachment. But we need to truly understand what is going on here and why she is making these statements, because Nancy Pelosi is a very, very calculated politician, and she does not just make statements. So let's look at her previous statements.
Woman who's just been elected as U.S. House Speaker says she won't rule out impeaching U.S. President Donald Trump. Nancy Pelosi spoke to NBC's Today Show before her election to the third most powerful job in Washington.
Well, we have to wait and see what happens with the Mueller report. We shouldn't be impeaching for a political reason, and we shouldn't avoid impeachment for a political reason.
Okay, so first of all, the impeachment process is political. It happens in Congress, the most political body in our government. So saying that we should avoid these things for political reasons, we shouldn't be impeaching for political reasons, and we shouldn't not impeach for political reasons. So we'll just note that statement for later.
Just have to see how it comes.
Do you believe the special counsel should honor and observe the Department of Justice guidance that states a sitting president cannot be indicted?
I do not think that that is conclusive. No, I do.
It is certainly conclusive, and there have been two Departments of Justice over multiple administrations that have written and upheld that memo. The reason that a sitting president cannot be indicted is because if a sitting president needs to be indicted, then he should be impeached. He or she should be impeached. Okay? Impeachment is the resolution in the Constitution. It is not indictment by people who are subordinate to the president. That would essentially open things up for obstruction of justice. But maybe that's what they want. Maybe they want Trump to be indicted so that then they can impeach him for obstruction of justice. Did that ever cross anyone's mind? Because it certainly crossed mine.
Not. I think what he's afraid of is any personal investigation of him, and I think Democrats will be just wait to see what Mueller comes up with, and we'll go from there. Hope so, because as we go forward, we want, as I said, an open Congress, a bipartisan Congress, a unifying Congress.
Now, let me ask you something. Have any of her actions since she took over Speaker on January 3rd, I believe, led you to believe that that is what she's looking for? Go ahead, think about it for a sec. Nah. None of her actions since she has been Speaker have done anything to make anyone believe that what she just said, that she wants a bipartisan, open, and unifying Congress, none of that's true. She is just lying. But I digress.
In your life at this point?
No, none whatsoever. In fact, it's an urgency that I can't resist. I mean, if Hillary Clinton had won, our Affordable Care Act would be protected, and I could go home. No one in California ever gets Potomac fever. We always want to go home.
Now that's interesting. If Hillary Clinton had won, my Affordable Care Act would be safe. Now, do you remember her? Well, we have to pass the bill before we can find out what's in it. Now that, my friends, is a seasoned, experienced congressperson. Unlike AOC, who lets everybody see what's in the bill and then gets destroyed. Nancy's smart. She doesn't want the American people to actually know what's in the bills that she's passing, because if they knew that, we would revolt. I digress again.
But that didn't happen, sadly.
people come to you, you become speaker, and they say, we've got to try to impeach this president. Democrats demanded it from us all over the country. He's done this, he's done this, he's done this. Impeach, impeach, impeach. We have to probe him. We got to get the taxes. We have to get after him. Now's our chance. Now's our chance, Madam Speaker. What do you say to those?
Well, first of all, what is the motivation? I don't think we should impeach a president for political reasons. But I don't think we should not impeach him because we think it's politically impeding for us to do so. We have to see what the facts are.
Now, there it goes again. We should not impeach him because it's politically expedient to do so.
Even further, saying in an interview with the Washington Post, quote, "I'm not for impeachment. This is news. I'm going to give you some news right now because I haven't said this to any press person before. But since you asked, I've been thinking about this, impeachment is so divisive to the country that unless there's something so compelling and overwhelming and bipartisan, I don't think we should go down that path because it divides the country and of the president. He's just not worth it." Now, Wolf, there's a couple.
This comes just as in the aftermath of a freshman congresswoman saying she intended to file impeachment papers against the president. Is this the speaker's way of keeping her caucus in line?
I think it's less about keeping her caucus in line and more about running cover for her caucus.
There we have it, ladies and gentlemen. She is running cover as well as totally changing her stance when it's politically expedient for her. Now, she just said to us, and we're not talking about years, we're talking about over the span of several months. Those first interviews were done in November, after the election, before she was elected Speaker of the House. So this is what she's saying directly after the election. And then now, today, that she realizes that A, the Michael Cohen testimony was a poop show. B, that Mueller is going to come out and exonerate Donald Trump. And C, that they will get shellacked if they even try to bring impeachment up and lose the House. Now we can't have impeachment because it's too divisive. And it's just simply not worth it. Now, she knew all the way back then that she was going to have to come out and say this, which is why she made, there is nothing random about anything that happens with Speaker Pelosi. It is all tested in focus groups. Everything is contrived and constructed for an outcome that she is trying to accomplish. She is a liar and a cheat. She has taken advantage of the American people for far too long. I am excited for her day of reckoning when that comes, and it will come. Her day of reckoning will come. We'll go over one more thing, and then I'll let you guys go. So continuing down the impeachment rabbit hole that the Democrats insist is not going on anymore. On January 26th, we have this tweet from Pelosi. What does Putin have on real Donald Trump politically, personally, or financially? This does not sound like a person who is not investigating somebody for impeachment of Russian collusion, right? So this is after the indictment of Roger Stone comes out. I'll put this in the description as well. You should take a minute to read it, because there's a lot in here with a press release about some rules changes and basically how she's going to drive the impeachment process through her three most loyal soldiers: Elijah Cummings, Democrat, Maryland; Adam Schiff, Democrat, California; and Jerry Nadler, Democrat, New York. Actually, Manhattan, I believe, probably Donald Trump's representative. In any case, so she's using those three stooges to work on impeachment. And that's what, I mean, we're January 26th, and we're talking about 5-6 weeks ago. This is what she's saying. And then yesterday she said that we can't impeach for, any reason because we don't have public support. Because what they realize is the public is tired of the charade. It's tired of the charade. Now, moving over here, this is actually a really good interview, then it gets Schiff kind of outlining the whole process of what they're going to be doing. This is posted on January 27th. So here, Adam Schiff is again continuing to say, well, there's all these crimes that have been committed and, Donald Trump needs to be impeached, but they really never say what crimes he committed or that they need to impeach him. They always say there's an overwhelming amount of evidence that he should be impeached, but we never ever see it. And finally, this is actually really, really fun. So here we kind of talk, this is an article from the Conservative Treehouse. I'll put all three of these up there so you can watch it. They have a real, I disagree with with them on a couple of things, but other than those couple of things, for someone who's intelligent, this is a great resource because they look at everything from a very factual matter with a conservative opinion, their conservative idea, but in any case, failure to launch. Pelosi and Schiff announced they're dropping their impeachment plan. Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. Now, the question truly is, what is the punch in the face? What happened? Now, they go to say, not enough people found Cohen credible because of the ridiculous way the entire stage performance was carried out by Democrats and their media allies. Most people saw right through the politicization of it. The plan just failed. I mean, after it came out that they sat with Cohen for 10 hours, just imagine you have to go in front of Congress after you're convicted of lying to Congress. And the people who you're going in front of sit you down for 10 hours on 4 different occasions to go over what you're going to say. Do you think that would happen to you? It certainly wouldn't happen to me. It would be what time you show up, and don't worry, we'll have security so that the president can't get you, the president and his boogeymen. But in any case, I am going to opine. I'm going to pontificate here for a second. I believe that what has changed is dramatic and intense and will be the beginning of the dominoes that are about to fall before our eyes. We're going to do a deep dive into the players because I want you all to be prepared for what's going to be happening in the coming weeks and months. The first thing that's going to happen is all the stuff that Donald Trump said he was going to... Well, first of all, the first thing that's going to happen is Mueller's going to submit his report to Bill Barr, which may have already happened. We don't know. And under current regulations, Bill Barr doesn't have to release any of the report if he doesn't want to. And under the way the Justice Department works, except for under Obama, if you have an investigation performed on you, like an operation performed on you, if you are under investigation, I believe would be the correct terminology, and they don't find any criminal wrongdoing, no one ever finds out that you were investigated. Now, this situation's a little different, but at the same time, should Bill Barr put out all of the dirty laundry that Mueller is surely digging up and writing in the report, because that's his job. His job is to make it look like Donald Trump got investigated to the hilt by someone who hates him and wants to see him go down. So we are going to see the Mueller report come first. And then we're going to see the declassification of the FISA documents, the Bruce Orr 302s, and all of the surrounding Comey memos and interviews and everything that they said that we can't see because it's national security related. The only security that they're trying to have is the security of their jobs and their lives, because they're all treasonous MFers. Because that's what they are. They have committed treason. A lot of them have committed treason, and they're going to go down. So he's going to declassify all of that stuff. And then the American people are going to have some time to digest this. And this is where the media is going to flip sides. There's a reason why Trump always says that the New York Times will endorse him in 2020. Because he knows what's coming. He knows what's coming. Then, after all that stuff's out in the public air, we'll start seeing some of these 80,000 indictments being unsealed, all across the country. Now, we've just seen today, and I'm going to do something on this because it's fascinating to me. There was some indictments unsealed I believe it was in Boston. But in any case, there's apparently this big criminal enterprise that's being funded and run by a nonprofit where people pay the nonprofit and then the nonprofit gets their dumb kids who couldn't get into good schools otherwise into good schools. So they're basically buying admission into these schools' foundations, and all that money is being deducted as a nonprofit tax deduction, and then it's being funneled into the schools, and then it's being put to work in the school's foundation, and that's considered nonprofit as well. So then all that money that flows is all getting just created tax-free, and these people are going to school and getting these degrees. And now it really, you sometimes you wonder, how in the heck did that dumb person get into that school? Well, now we know. Apparently there's 50 people who have been arrested. Some of them are celebrities, but I'm interested and fascinated to know what is coming. So I believe that Nancy Pelosi put forward this push of impeachment. She put out this plan of impeachment as basically a threat to Donald Trump to try to prevent the declassification of all of the stuff that is going to make the Obama administration look very, very awful. And I believe that Trump slammed his fist down on the desk and said, no deal, and walked right out. That's what happened. And right now, what we're seeing is her pulling back and trying to get back to the negotiating table to avoid sunlight and disinfectant from being shown on the corruption that goes on. Remember what we talked about in the last video. We have a national emergency going on in this country as it relates to human rights abuses and corruption. A lot of it is going on outside of the country, it says, but that doesn't mean that all of it's going on outside of the country. And it also is influencing this country, its foreign policy. There's a lot of deep, deep stuff that's going on that's about to come out. And Nancy Pelosi is desperately trying to stop that by trying to launch investigations. And then while the investigation is being launched, trying to pull it back and say, hey, listen, I won't do the investigation if you don't declassify this stuff, because we can't have the American people actually knowing what goes on in government. I said this a long time ago. We were talking about leverage. Everybody has leverage on everybody else because they all know their dirty secrets and they all keep their little black book of leverage to prevent other people from knowing the dirty secrets. None of them have a little black leverage book on Donald Trump, but he's got a big black leverage book on all of them. FISA works both ways. The full weight and spying power of the U.S. government works both ways. Look at the people who are going across the border 25 times a day to help illegal immigrants use the system to get in here. You'll see it in the news if you Google it. There's a big basically dossiers being kept on these people because they're probably working against the national interest of the United States, even though they are Americans. And now people are going to start realizing the error of their ways during the Barack Obama administration. And once this all comes out, we will finally be able to squash it and then rebuild not only a country, but a world that is a happy and healthy place for all of us to live. The Democrats create problems so that they can then come along and fix them with their big government solutions. I promise you this. It's all a plan. It's a plan that's been going on for over 100 years and started in 1913. And we'll talk about that coming up in one of the coming up videos as I start letting you know what to be prepared for in the coming weeks and months. And finally, let's just take a quick look at how globalism is performing against nationalism. Globalist Trudeau, 35%, most likely going to resign or be impeached for a scandal that he's involved in. Globalist Macron, 28% approval. Globalist Merkel, not running again, 29% approval. Globalist May, not running again, 28% approval. Nationalist Trump, 50% approval. Nationalist Conte, this is the Italian prime minister or president, I'm not sure which one it is, 67% approval. Prime Minister Abe, 44% approval. Nationalism is winning over globalism. because we're all better off if we put our own interests first, but also be fair and get along with everyone else in the world, which is not what anyone has been doing for a long time. Thank you so much for listening, watching, subscribing, liking, sharing. I appreciate it. For Pontification Nation, this is Ricky Skittle, and I am out.